The series starts with a woman in the streets. However, it doesn't seem that the woman belongs there as she isn't alone. She is with a newborn baby named Lu Shu, whom she sings a lullaby. The woman gives the baby to another person and leaves. The baby has a walnut-shaped pendant. Fast forward, we see the boy has become a man taking care of his little sister, Lu Xiaoyu, who wants to eat sweets at the fair. So you know they're gonna be hella expensive, especially for Lu Shu, who's not financially stable, that he caves in for that kawaii face. Then they go to enjoy a fire show. While making their way through the hordes, Lu Shu gets too close to comfort facing the flames, but instead of flinching back, his mind goes somewhere else and his necklace starts glowing. Yet nobody takes note as they are amazed by the fire show. Later, the duo goes backstage to see the man behind the show and asks him how it's done. However, inside, they come across some men in black taking the blondie against his will. Beyond scared straight, Lu Shu tells the fellas that they were just looking for the toilet when they got caught. One of the men tells them that they are a firefighting group and the fire show is not licensed. That's why they are here to bring the fire show guy for investigation. It's a silly excuse. Lu knows it and they know it, so not wanting to go through the hassle of dealing with him, the guy tells them the direction of the toilet, and everyone goes their way. Back at home, we learn that Lu Xiaoyu is not Lu Shu's biological sister. They were from the same orphanage. Now they live together as a sister and a brother. When Lu Shu goes to the store to buy some food, he gazes at the face of God, Truck-kun, sending him flying headfirst to the rock-solid ground. The walnut starts sparkling on his neck, lifting his body higher and higher. His body begins to somewhat transform as we see from his tissues, twisting, glowing, and changing. On the other side, the man behind the god is freaking out, believing he has killed the young man, so when he goes to check on him, Lu falls as if nothing was happening. But then our boy opens his eyes, piss-wanting revenge, money as a form of compensation. Seeing this, the truck driver gets frightened, thinking it's his ghost and flees away while numbers keep ticking over his head. Thus, Lu Shu goes back to his original task, buying some noodles, but the task seems harder than usual since the shopkeeper is also frightened and numbers appear above his head. But the main man doesn't overthink it and gets back home to take a shower. After washing himself up, Lu looks for any wounds or signs of the accident but finds nothing. The only thing he notices is a sparkling sign on his palm, which he concludes it as being a sign of his awakening superpowers. After further theorizing and thinking, Lu realizes his power is derived from people's negative emotions. A digital circle system appears in front of the self-proclaimed Demon King, and like any growing healthy young adult, he dives into it head first without any care in the world. He starts pressing some buttons in what seems to be a wheel of fortune. Although he kept losing and dropping his points fast, Lu manages to secure a win and an apple appears from thin air. He bites it and instantly feels comfortable as well as energized, prompting him to play more and lose more points, until he wins a letter active by singing the kid's lullaby, which takes him on a journey through space and time to somewhere representing what seems like Lu's inner soul power map. After looking a bit into it, he goes back to reality and joins his little sister at the dinner table, only to leave again upon seeing a fire has occurred in their area. When he climbs to the rooftop to take a look, he finds the same men from the fair jumping from rooftop to rooftop like ninjas but with drip. They hear Lu Shu and approach him. "What are you doing here?" they ask. Lu Shu lies to them, saying he's picking up dried radishes. Although the man recognizes him from before and doesn't believe his excuse, they send him home after not picking up what they call fluctuations. When Lu Shu gets back to his little sister, a sudden bump is heard. A man is laying in front of their house. Turns out it's the fire show guy. While Lu Shu and his sister are discussing and lingering around what to do with the guy, numbers appear above his head. Lu realizes he is conscious and starts teasing him for some points. Even after the man wakes up, like the Demon King Lu is, he continues messing with the guy. Fed up, the fire guy loses his temper and grabs Lu Shu's hand to roast him just like how our boy did. But nothing happens, so the man swallows his pride, calls it a prank and leaves after Lu milks every last negative emotion from him. Lu's sister starts to question him, so he hints about his superpowers, but doesn't show her. When the main man goes to his room, he opens the digital system and buys what I think is a mushroom loaded with DMT, because what he experienced after swallowing looks like something straight up from the Joe Rogan Experience. After that, he can lift his bed easily. But sadly, there is no rest for the wicked, as Lu Shu is responsible for all the household duties and expenses. Thus, he takes some eggs to the bazaar to sell them, something his other classmate, the quote-unquote class leader, teases him about. Yet Lu not only doesn't mind it, but uses it to sell all his eggs and farm as many points from the class leader as he can. In class, Lu learns that more and more people are getting awakened, and that there are levels to it, A being the highest, while F being the lowest, and as you guessed it, in true high school anime fashion, our man turns out to be in the lowest rank. Just like his classmate that was just awakened is holding a teacher on the roof, threatening to throw him if the men in black get any closer. Incredibly, Lu's gears start going and his devilish side comes to light as he steps forward and reminds the kid that even if he is a minor, he will be prosecuted, and starts reciting the Chinese crime laws one by one, making everyone who went up to see some action miserable, farming points, and distracting the kids so that the men in black can take down the little rascal with some impressed judo techniques. After all is said and done, Lu heads back to the classroom and sees some nurses standing there. They want to take some blood samples for inspection, so he gets nervous as he does not want them to know about his superpowers. When he tries to weasel his way out of it, Lu gets stopped by a nurse built like a mountain, leaving him no choice. Back at home, Lu finds his little sister down with a fever due to her trying to wash his cloth in the cold. Therefore, he steps out and opens his magic screen to play on the Wheel of Fortune till he gets the good fruit for her to get better. And indeed, it worked as a charm. Her fever went away as soon as she took it. Then they kept repeating the cycle over and over till he gives her a bag of fruits, making her realize that her brother indeed was awakened. But her excitement turned to anger when the man starts mentioning that she needs to do her studies. The next day, it is announced at school that there will be a special class for special students with a special teacher. It turns out the special teacher is the man in black. His name is Shifei. Several students get chosen, among them Lu Shu, shocking the points out of them. Soon after, a new student arrives named Jiang Shudi, and immediately gets mistaken for a girl. So you know our boy is going to use it to his advantage and farm some point from his new buddy, who also turns out to be in the same special class Shifei is teaching. The class teaches the basics of fighting and leveling up. He then explains that potassium alloy is a liquid metal that can detect human blood against the reaction rate with the aura of heaven and earth, which is commonly referred to as qualification. When potassium comes into contact with the blood of people with potential for spiritual practice, it will change from silver to black. The darker the color, the higher the qualification. Based on the darkness, the qualification can be divided into 6 levels: A, B, C, D, E, and F. After the class, the qualification levels of everyone in this special class group will be published. The teacher also stated that the level of the qualification doesn't determine their future achievements, but their hard work is what does. Lu Shu's qualifications were F, putting him last in the class. However, there's a reason behind that, being before taking the blood test, all that Lu Shu had eaten was the refining fruit, so he thinks that the qualifications measured are relatively low, which can be good too, as he doesn't trust his new teachers that much. Speaking about the devil fruit, his stock of fruit ends, and so he starts to seek other rewards and ends up with a stinky tofu that attracts the attention of his sister. When he continues to play with his sister at his side, Lu finally wins something different, another sheet of paper, but this one is dark blue. It resonates with the sister, and she finds herself in space just like what happened to our boy. When she comes back, she tells him that she is awakened. After that, Lu goes to bed and reflects on his day. That's when he comes up with the idea of selling the stinky tofu to earn money. Thus, atop the morning, he heads out, and on his way, he meets the grandpa living next door with Aunt Lin, who is having sword practice. The old G suggests he take some sword practice lessons, but Lu refuses, earning some points. He later earns some more from the repulsive smell of the tofu driving the people away, but one brave soul decides to try and instantly falls in love with it, attracting the attention of others who also try the stinky dish, which turns out to be a mega success, earning him a good amount of money. Over time, he keeps going at it, earning money from the tofu and negative points from the smell, which he uses to buy more mushrooms and practice in the other realm till he was able to break through the Star Nebula first layer in his power map, which in turn unlock a cool-ass sword that he can control with his mind. Back at school, they start to practice with a spiritual stone. It has a lot of energy in it, and it's a resource for cultivation. Lu Shu uses the spiritual stone that doesn't seem to be enough for him, as his celestial map seems too much to handle with one measly standard stone. So the next day, Lu asks Jiang what he experienced so he can say the same thing when questioned in class. Speaking about in-class activities, the class leader challenges our boy to an arm wrestling match, knowing he is just an F rank. Lu gladly accepts it and wins the match in tons of points after embarrassing the leader and annoying the classmates by telling them the leader has helped him to awaken. When the trap asks him about the awakening incident during lunch, Lu uses it further to tease the boys and farm their negative energy. He then asks the trap if he knows anything about Shifei and others, to which the boy reveals that they work in Earth Network. Above the Earth Network is the Heavenly Network, the members of which are very few. At night, Lu Shu and his sister are at home chilling, when all of a sudden, he senses a strong aura. It belongs to a guy who we will be referring to. After showing respect to the old G at his doorstep, Aaron proceeds to enter the household, where the man is seen sitting in the dark with a fan in hand like a boss. He pours a cup of tea to the young man, who says, Master Lee, you are truly a generous person. Further adding, the Earth and Heaven Network needs a talented person like you to maintain world peace. But the old man refuses to join back as there is a belief that he who joins the association can't run for office. Post-puberty Eren respects his decision and hopes one day they won't be enemies. He finishes the conversation before leaving by saying the director of the local association can only be him. Seeing the amount of respect given to the old Ji by the Heavenly Network, Lu decides he needs to learn more about his neighbor and thus reconsiders the decision to sword practice with